afternoon and welcome. Call to order the special meeting of the Englewood Cliffs Mayor and Council. Today is April 30th, 2018. It's about 2:10 p.m. Madam Clerk, have a roll call, please.
Mayor Kranjak,
Here.
Councilperson Aversa,
Here.
E. Park, O. Here. McMorro. Here. M. Park.
Here.
Wu.
Here.
Borough Attorney. Borough CFO.
Here.
Borough Auditor.
Here.
And I'm planning board secretary here.
Thank you for helping us today.
No
Appreciate your help. Let's all rise for the flag salute. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please read into the record the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting was given to the press and posted as required. Date and time of this meeting was legally given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. This notice is on file with the municipal clerk and posted on the bulletin board. Minutes of this meeting will be made available to the public upon completion of typing and proofreading of the by the municipal clerk.
Thank you very much. Could I have a motion to open up the meeting to the public for comment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If there's anyone from the public who wishes to be heard, please raise your hand. When you're recognized, come to the microphone, state your name and address. Anybody from the public wishing to be heard? Hi, Alan. Yes.
Lynn Norton, 9 Willow Drive. Couple questions. The first, Mayor, can you explain the execution of reservation of rights agreement? That's on the agenda under
You are-
resolution 18-96?
Yes, so you're free to comment, and if you have questions, you put Oprah in, but it's not a dialogue today.
Mayor, can I ask again?
You could ask all you want, but it's not a dialogue.
I mean, generally, somebody will explain things if the, the borough public...
Well, you want to know what a reservation of rights agreement is?
No, I want to understand what this reservation of rights agreement is. This is very specific.
This
I got to
is-
assume
what's
since you're going to
this?
sign it, you understand it. This is resolution 18-96.
Right.
I mean, I hope you understand it, and I hope you can explain it before you put your signature to it.
I'm
so it
usually
would be
pretty good,
helpful
yes, I'm
to the
usually pretty
public
good at
if you would
understanding what I
explain
sign. Yeah, I'm usually pretty good at that.
it. Well, if you could explain it,
Yeah,
that
so I'm
would be
gonna
very
wait, I'm
helpful.
gonna wait on this one until you ask
Okay.
properly through an Oprah. Or you
So-
can ask the borough attorney if you want.
I was going to say, there's no Oprah. I can Oprah this, but that doesn't help me to get an explanation of what it means. Oh, please.
Sorry, I'm late.
The resident had a question, I'm not sure I understand what her question is. because
I was
it's
just
a little bit
asking for
vague.
what the execution of reservation of rights agreement is in this case and how it applies to our council people.
In which case?
In case of 18-96 resolution, just to better understand what it is and why it has to be signed and why it exists.
Okay, we have a borough code provision for indemnity, and it provides for exceptions to indemnity, as does the law. I've already discussed with the 3 council members that are sued in Eastwood versus the borough, Gloria O., Ed Aversa, Alan Park, and the purpose of it is to reserve the borough's right to seek attorney's fees back from them, the borough pays,
Captain Murphy, City Chief. Captain
if,
Murphy, City Chief.
if, conditions are found that meet the borough code and the applicable law.
So the Borough Code says we defend our council people and our employees. So
Yeah.
that's stated in one of our ordinances.
Correct, and it has conditions and limitations, as most laws do.
Okay, so if I look at that ordinance, I'll find what those conditions and limitations are. I know negligence is always one of them, but...
No, negligence
What
is
else are
not
there?
one of them in this case. Indemnity has to be, there has to be, first of all, something has to occur within within the course of, in this case, official duties.
Okay,
So the action that's complained of has to be within the course of official duties. If they do something out on the street that's not a council member thing,
right, so
no indemnity.
So
That's
there
the
is
first
indemnity.
provision.
Okay, so they meet the first provision.
The second provision is whether or not the conduct that is complained of is found wrong by the borough and/or the court. In this case, there is pending litigation.
Who is the borough when you say the borough, who is the borough?
The mayor
and council.
Yes, there would have to be, if the court didn't decide it, there would have to be a decision by the mayor and council. In this case, there is pending litigation, the goal of which is to determine, did these council members do something wrong, contrary to their official duties?
Okay, and
And the level that it has to rise to is not mere negligence. It is wanton and willful misconduct, fraud, malice, misrepresentation, some kind of deliberate act
okay,
that is contrary to their official duties.
okay.
So,
Makes sense.
and it's a bunch of steps that the law goes through to analyze it. But it's not just they made a mistake. There has to be a higher level to disregard indemnity. And this is found in both indemnity law and insurance coverage law.
Okay, now this says that our insurance company has refused to represent them?
Yes, that's not unusual. This is a prerogative writ action. No damages are sought
Okay,
against
so
the
they
borough.
don't defend...
Insurance
if there's
companies
no-
don't defend
if
prerogative
there's no
writs.
damages.
They don't defend prerogative writs in general, and particularly where there are no damages asserted.
Okay,
So in this case, let's say she had just filed a regular lawsuit and sought punitive damages. The insurance company might have defended, but not for punitive damages.
so could the borough just say that we will defend you in this? Just
We are-
because, but they're saying that we can, but we reserve the right to go back.
Yes,
But why do we reserve the right to go back? Why don't we just defend?
because in the lawsuit, it makes two counts that question the borough paying for the defense. It's a mechanism to do it, waiting until some court rules, and then we take the direction from there.
But we didn't do that in any other lawsuits.
Because it's never been claimed in any other lawsuit, at least since I'm here.
So they specifically say that in their lawsuit,
Eastwood's
in
lawsuit
Eastwood's lawsuit, she specifically says that the borough should not defend them.
should not pay for their defense.
So because she says this,
It's an allegation, it hasn't been proved, and the borough is doing the right thing by defending them. Is there a reservation? Yes, there's a reservation, because the decision is not before us, it's before the
Okay.
Superior
so
Court.
anybody puts this in any lawsuit, one of these would have to be done. So it just depends on how a lawsuit is written.
Right, and there has to be a basis for it, and in this case, there's a basis, there's an allegation why she's seeking that they not pay for this defense.
And who's determining that we feel that there's a basis?
It's in the lawsuit.
Right, but you're saying that there is, like, if anybody puts this in their lawsuit,
There has to be a nexus, there has to be a connection to some facts.
there has to be a connection, and who's determining that?
Yeah, I just want to cut in here because let me, excuse me,
Yeah.
Carol, hold on.
not.
Wait, I have the floor. I have the floor. Okay.
Okay.
I don't want you giving roadmaps to litigants
Okay.
and to their friends. All right? So she answered your question.
Okay, so let me...
You just had a light bulb moment, I know, and I hope you're not going to file a lawsuit, which seems to come out of that corner often.
You know what, Mayor, that
But-
is so unnecessary.
So, what else?
You are so,
You come up here very agitated today, and I'm not sure why, but
because
We
of
could-
your attitude, you wouldn't discuss it. You say file an Oprah, so I could get the resolution.
because this isn't a question and answer. You know that. You do this every month.
So, of course it's a
No.
question and
Ms.
answer.
Norton, the mayor
It's
is
comment.
correct. In this instance, I'm going a little too far with legal
That's what I'm
advice
just trying to
on pending
understand,
litigation.
that I had, it's
Yes,
never been
and
seen before, it's never been said before.
O,
That's fine.
Aversa, and...
That's fine.
And,
What else you have?
Clark have rights.
Anybody else from the public?
Going on to the,
Anybody else
my
from the
next
public?
question. You see, that you're just so obnoxious.
You've been up there for 5 minutes.
It doesn't matter.
It does, actually.
It's not in your bylaws, it's not in your code, it hasn't been voted on, so therefore, the
Well, you're
next
just
thing
here to
is your,
agitate, so we don't want to do that right now.
you make me laugh. All I can do is laugh at you, it's so sad.
Likewise,
Okay, you're appointing a borough administrator,
we are.
I'm concerned about the fact our taxes are going up so high, and we have the ability
I don't know that they
to
are going
spend
up.
just a small amount of money to add to a position, and so
Well, how
why
high are they
aren't we
going?
going back to there? Well, let's just say...
You seem to know a lot of information.
I have a point of order.
God,
I have a point of order.
I'm asking for a point of order.
Point of order to the chairman,
I'm asking
Mayor?
for a point of order, okay.
to the mayor. You're
This
recognized.
has got to stop, all right? You have every right to ask your questions. Your disrespect to this council, and to the office of the mayor, I have to tell you, is something that I've never witnessed before.
Yeah, I have
But
with
also-
you,
excuse
and
me.
I haven't. And my other thing is, that's
Excuse
just
me.
your county
Council
administrator.
President.
Excuse me.
All right,
Is
let's-
it
let's-
public time or is it her time?
She has a point of order.
And she loves to admonish. She admonishes everyone.
She has a point of order. Go ahead. Are you
I
finished?
don't think I ever did. I'm asking you to be
I
respectful.
think you always do. I will take that into account.
All right, go ahead. Ask your question.
And the next thing is, you're made a very quick hiring of the borough administrator. I just wanted to ask if we've gone through our procedure of background checks before this person is
I
hired.
will give my
I know
report on that.
sometimes we do not do it. I just want to be sure we go through all the proper procedures. Thank you. And I
But that's an incorrect statement. For the record, I'm not aware that we have not done background checks, Mayor.
Well, this council has always done background checks. I can't speak to what went on before me. Yes. Name and address, please.
Lauren Eastwood, 4 Willow Drive. First, I want to address an inaccuracy in the prior speaker's comments. I get all the lawsuits. I know who's filing them. There are a ton of them. And mine is the first filed by a Republican. That leaves one other source of them, and that would be the Democrats. They seem to file them nonstop. I also think we do have a constant problem with disrespect to the mayor and council, both in the nasty comments and also in the constant chattering and behind them. And third, I am going to once again admonish the council to recuse on matters in which they have a personal interest.
Anybody else from the public wishing to be heard? Yes.
Mary O'Shea, 12 Irving Avenue. Recently, there's been such news coverage of the Tenafly situation where a member of the Port Authority Commission tried to influence the police regarding the towing of a car on 9W. And accordingly, the woman ended up resigning, and all sorts of letters of apology sent out and all, whatever. It reminds me of the case of Philima Farber in Fairview, when her boyfriend got a ticket and she appeared at the site of the ticket to try to influence the police not to give the ticket, and subsequently she resigned from her position with the state. And,
Supreme Court.
oh,
Justice
Supreme Court,
of the
oh,
Supreme Court.
oh, okay, I didn't...
Head of the Supreme Court.
Oh, okay, all right. I didn't remember her position, you know, it's too many officials. But it brings to mind the situation that was brought up at the council meeting last month, where Ellen Park, our councilwoman, contacted Senator Loretta Weinberg to intervene in the matter at the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office that was pending for something in regard to, that was sent there probably with the police department. And I wonder if the same statutory outrage would be to Senator Weinberg, and maybe she would resign for trying to interfere in a police matter in Englewood Cliffs where she had no jurisdiction, and also Ellen Park for reaching out to her and asking for her to intervene. I really think that's outrageous, and it diminishes the prosecutor's office and Loretta Weinberg and Mrs. Park. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll reserve comment. Anybody else from the public? Okay, can I have a motion to close the public portion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Going down to resolutions 2018-93, authorize a closed session discussion on personnel. Ray, Borough Administrator, can I have a motion for that?
So,
Roll call or just aye?
I think she said all in favor.
All in favor? Okay, everyone's in favor.
Well, she said that, to read the resolution.
She's got to read the,
Okay.
thank you.
Resolution authorizing closed session at meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs has deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain confidential matters. Whereas the minutes of this closed session will remain confidential as permitted under the Open Public Meetings Act, or shall be released when there is no further need for confidentiality as authorized by the borough attorney. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs will go into closed session for the following matters as permitted under the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-12, discussion on personnel borough administrator.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Okay.
Oh,
Everybody's in favor? Yeah.
That's you.
Could I have a motion to come out of, excuse me, can I have a motion to come out of closed session? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2018-94, appointing James R. Barbario to the position of Borough Administrator?
Second.
Have a roll.
Here she is now.
Councilman Aversa?
Is it,
Councilwoman Park?
is it filled in, is the resolution filled in?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
The amount and everything is filled in?
Okay, let's start again. We're going to cancel that vote.
Okay.
Resolution 1894 is amended to state in paragraph 3, the annual salary shall be $95,000
Prorated.
prorated for the 6-month probationary period. That's how the resolution reads. So with the insertion of that number, the acting clerk will call for a vote.
We have a motion and a second. Okay, so I'll start over. Councilman Aversa?
No.
Councilwoman Park?
Yes.
Councilwoman O?
No.
Council President McMorro?
Yes.
Councilman, Mr. Parks?
Yes.
And Councilperson, Wu?
Yes.
And Mayor Kranjak?
I don't vote.
Oh, sorry, she had your name.
Yeah, that's okay, I did it.
Only to break a tie.
Thank you.
So,
Motion passed.
resolution, thank you. 1894 passed.
All right, 1895, authorized reservation of rights agreement between the borough and Councilwoman O. This is regarding the Eastwood litigation and defense thereof.
Point of order, Mayor.
Yes.
Can we have just some discussion on that, just so you explain what we're, what...
Who did Borough Council
Borough
explain?
Council, yeah.
Borough Council, would you please explain that?
Yes, as I briefly stated before during the public comment, and I have discussed in detail by email with Councilman Aversa, O, and Clark, on several occasions before the last meeting and then again at this meeting. In addition, I want the council to be aware that I invited all to call me. Ellen, unfortunately, I had mistakenly not copied her properly. I sent Gloria the emails twice. Ellen just got the emails today, and I'm sorry about that. Obviously, it was a typo. Ed called me, and I spoke in detail. I believe he has an understanding. What we are doing is reserving the borough's right, should it come to fruition, a decision that warrants it. We are reserving the borough's right under the indemnity code, which is referred to in this resolution and each resolution. We are reserving the borough's right to seek reimbursement of attorney's fees should that come to fruition under various legal scenarios, limitations and obligations. It would be for the court to decide what happens in the underlying matter, and then from there, what steps the borough would need to do if it is appropriate. And I really can't say much more than that.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, ask the mayor.
Mayor, I have a question. So, So I'm a little confused by some of the questions. So we're indemnified if the court says you did nothing wrong.
Correct.
However,
Yes?
it sounds like it can still come back to the council and they can decide whether we get covered or not. Is that, am I misunderstanding?
Well, you're stating a simplistic, and not to be critical,
Simple.
but simple, okay? If the court were to find that none of the allegations were sustained in that very large complaint, if the court were to find that no allegations are sustained, then in all likelihood there would be a decision by the court that the borough would provide the indemnity. There might be separate arguments about it, there might be separate briefing, there might be a separate decision on that point, because normally a court doesn't deal with coverage issues until the factual claims are resolved. So there's like a stay procedure that happens in insurance or indemnities. So simply put, if you're found innocent, it's not innocent or guilty. If you're found not responsible or responsible, if you're found not responsible for anything, or the level of proof doesn't rise to what the judge finds, yes, you had a conflict of interest, no, you had it, you didn't. If the judge finds no conflicts of interest, most likely the indemnity is going to stand. If the court were to find pieces of it, yes, they had a conflict, they shouldn't have voted. No, they had no conflict here, they shouldn't have voted. It's up for grabs how the court wants to decide whether there's partial indemnity or full indemnity or no indemnity. These are all procedures that you will have representation on for the borough at this point. Whether or not there becomes a separate lawsuit for coverage issues or a stay of what's been claimed there, this will have to all be addressed again. But I do not believe that the borough has the right to not accept what a judge says on the indemnity issue. But it's really premature for me because to really opine on that with definiteness. There are many intricacies in insurance and indemnity law, many intricacies. And the complaint itself raises many complicated allegations. So the best thing for the borough to do, my recommendation, and as the mayor authorized, because it's on here, is look, we pay for the lawyers right now. We vote, we pay for lawyers right now, hopefully that vote passes. Later, as this matter progresses, there may be a determination, an actual determination by the borough defense attorney to separate that case. It's done by a motion. It becomes a separate matter.
I have a question.
So,
On his page.
I'm wondering if I answered you simply. There's no definitive answer. There's no definitive answer right now. But if you are found and have not had any conflict, either one of you individually, to have found to have no conflicts at all as raised in that lawsuit, in all likelihood the indemnity would stand. But I can't guarantee that to you definitively right now. No one can.
And what I asked Anne Marie to do is to draft the actual reservation of rights agreement by the end of the week.
Yes.
Which, you know, we're not here to judge or to characterize the litigation. We're just here to follow the rules that we have. So that's the next step.
Yes.
If this gets approved.
Yes, and let me just follow with that. The reservations of right agreement will follow the standard language of court cases and our code and similar codes. And it is required that the borough and the party entering into that negotiate in good faith and fair dealing. You will get an opportunity with your private attorney at that point to review this agreement and make reasonable changes to it. The borough, through the mayor, will get a reasonable opportunity. We will come up with an agreement by the end of the week that all three of you and the borough are happy with. The reason I say Friday is because the RFQs are returned on Friday, and we need to make appointments for you. So I am looking to have this now circulating get your input on it, etc.
I just had piggybacking on what Ed was asking, because I think this is the first, right?
Yes.
I've never seen it in all my years, but
I questioned the Borough Clerk. She does not recall in her years that this is
right,
happening.
but the question is this: had the council people
Yeah.
followed the borough attorney's advice, and I can only speak from my limited experience, which is since 2010, I was always advised that if the borough attorney, whoever it was, and I've worked under 3 or 4 different ones, if they give you legal advice, if you follow it, then you're covered. Would that not have been a better scenario? I'm just asking, had they followed the legal advice? Because,
But that's not appropriate for this meeting.
no, I'm not asking to pass a judgment.
I'm not going to opine, and I will say that your concerns only have to do with 2 council members and 1 small part of the allegations in the
Okay,
complaint.
I'm just saying.
And I'm not going to opine whether or not
Happen again.
disregard of my opinion is,
That's a
that's for the
different issue.
court.
Yeah.
But that's the question,
Question.
Aaron, since that is such a small part of that 1,000 page, that was a...
338 pages.
Yeah, whatever it was.
And it's been amended.
I'm talking about going
That's,
forward.
that was my
That's
other question for you,
Going
is,
forward.
since it's been amended, I haven't gotten a chance to read that. I only read that the other day, so I don't know what the amendment was.
It was amended?
Yeah.
And I had...
It was amended?
So I don't know if there's more things in there that I should know about, or don't know about, that it's going to affect this.
Okay, Ed, read the amended complaint. I have not been able to read it yet. In fact, I sent it to the assigned attorney, Eric Bernstein's office, who's representing the borough. It's his job, not mine, right? That's why we hired him. So he's certainly going to make a differentiation of the amended to the first.
But I was asking for forward, I wasn't asking for past. Going forward, if the borough attorney gives, this is a forward-moving question,
Okay.
if the borough attorney gives us advice, because you're representing the borough, you don't represent any of
Well, what
us.
happens if she gives the wrong advice? Yeah. Right? Because
Well, I'm not a lawyer, I'm
she said
asking.
you weren't conflicted, and then you were conflicted, and now you can't vote.
So who said I was
What's the-
conflicted? Whoa, whoa, whoa.
All right.
What's the...
Wait, wait,
This
guys,
is neither here nor there.
Who said
guys,
you're listening to...
we're going, excuse me, we're going far afield, okay? If you have issues with her advice, you could deal with it, you're a lawyer, you know what to do. You could get your own advice. Hold on a second. We need to get through this agenda. We need to do a budget. We have these 2 very fine gentlemen here waiting to do a budget. I'm sorry to smoke you up, Paul. Sorry. But we really do need to get this done.
Point of order, Mayor, excuse me, for
Right.
the record, Councilwoman Park just made a statement on a public video, well, that I was, she made a statement, which
What was the statement?
I don't even know where she would have gotten that information from regarding what conflict I may or may not have.
Well,
Who was right or wrong. I don't-
All right.
Here's what I suggest. Everyone who has a personal issue, when this meeting is over, go discuss it outside. But for now, I just want to get through this budget. And let's get these votes done. If you feel like indemnifying, vote yes. If you feel like not indemnifying, vote no.
Just one last question
Yes.
to the borough attorney. So are you saying that our attorneys are going to have an opportunity to amend or change the,
With the resolution. This resolution is written the way that basically we're authorizing you to execute agreement that we're not gonna see today, but we're gonna see later by Friday, right?
No. You're a party to that agreement with the borough.
You're a party.
You will review the agreement. You will comment on the
However
agreement.
long it takes, you will review. I am not acting in a vacuum.
I am not your
You-
power of attorney. I am not signing for you. I only sign for the borough once it's approved by the
You
council.
have that's why we made it an agreement. Each of you has the ability to sign, and I will be sending it for each of you to review as you see fit, which means you can do it on your own, or you can submit it to your attorneys, your personal attorneys, for a quick review. It is going to follow the language of the indemnity and the applicable law. You will not see anything in there that isn't already discussed in my emails with you, especially the April 24th email, that is confidential between you and me, you three and me. I really did give you a detail on that. We will be fair, and the mayor will not sign unless the three of you have individually come to an agreement. It's called good faith and fair dealing. It is a contract, negotiation, good faith and fair dealing. The three of us who went to law school remember those terms, good faith and fair dealing. That's what happens in a contract negotiation.
Okay.
I still have a problem with the resolution.
Okay. I try
All
to
right,
do it.
can I have a motion to approve Resolution 2018-95, authorize reservation of rights agreement between the borough and Councilwoman O regarding the Eastwood litigation defense?
Point of order, Mayor, that the 4th whereas that we have copies of was corrected to reflect Councilwoman O's name instead of Councilman Aversa.
Typo.
I had sent you an email address.
Okay, I'm just saying for the record that it should say Councilman O's name.
There's two of them had problems.
It does. In the final package.
So make that correction for the record.
It is already done in the official package for tonight.
All right, okay, so that's been corrected. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, can I have a roll call, please?
That was McMorro and M. Park.
Yes. Councilman Aversa?
As long as we have a chance to discuss it, I'm good for it. Are we doing all three at the same time?
No.
Okay.
I think you have to,
Oh,
no, you can vote on it. Sorry.
Can I vote on it?
Yes.
Okay, so yes.
Yes, okay. Councilwoman Park?
Are you doing,
95 for Councilwoman O.
no,
You're voting no?
yeah, no.
Okay.
Councilwoman O?
I could vote on my own.
Yes, you can.
No.
Council President McMorro?
Yes.
Councilman Park?
Yes.
Councilman Wu?
Yes.
42. Motion passes.
Thank you. The next one is Resolution 2018-96, authorize reservation of rights agreement between the borough and Councilwoman E. Park regarding the Eastwood litigation defense. Can I have a motion, please? Roll call, please.
No one called.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Councilman Aversa?
Yes.
Councilwoman Park?
No.
Councilwoman O?
No.
Council President McMorro?
Yes.
Councilman Park?
Yes.
Councilman Wu? 42. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next resolution, 2018-97, authorize reservation of rights agreement between the borough and Councilman Aversa regarding the Eastwood litigation defense.
So moved.
Councilman Aversa?
I'll recuse, I just think that's probably.
Councilwoman Park?
No.
Councilwoman O?
No.
Council President McMorro?
Yes.
Councilman Park?
Yes.
Councilman Wu? That's 3-2 and 1 recused, so.
Thank you.
Mayor, I guess?
No.
No,
No?
we're good.
It's okay?
That's okay, thanks.
Motion passes.
Okay, so the next one is Resolution 2018-98, ratifying assignments of two matters to 2018 Special Litigation Counsel Eric M. Bernstein and Associates, LLC, for defense of the borough in the Eastwood versus Borough et al. Litigation, docket number BER-L-2490-18, and handling of matter of volunteers challenge regarding criminal background check. Have a motion to adopt that, please.
Wait, can I ask a question? What is the second part of this resolution?
I can't speak about it. I was hoping that anyone who had a question would have called me Friday. But pick up the phone and call me or email me and I'll shoot you a confidential email.
Yeah, so it's a matter that's very confidential, but very important, and we can't talk about it.
And we need litigate, and we need the attorney to handle it separately from me. Second.
Councilman Aversa?
I guess.
Councilwoman Park?
I'm going to recuse.
Do you mean abstain?
Abstain.
Okay.
Councilwoman O,
I'm gonna abstain as well.
Council President McMorro,
Yes?
Councilman Park,
Yes.
Councilman Wu. Yes. And it's four yeses, 2 abstentions.
Thank you. Next, Resolution 2018-99, ratifying assignment of matters to 2018 Special Litigation Counsel Joseph Wenzel Esquire for defense.
Time out. I'm sorry, but my version has the paragraph 2 in it. Cross that out. And just assign it to the other guy. Paragraph 2, the resolution is amended to delete the paragraph number 2.
Just want to read
Always dealt with it. Right, so we dealt with that issue in the prior resolution, so again, the amended resolution 2018-99, as amended by Borough Council just now, deleting paragraph number 2, everything else remaining the same, ratifying assignment of matters to 2018 Special Litigation Counsel Joseph Wenzel for defense of the borough in Ellen Park versus Borough et al., docket number BERL-6876-17. Can I have a motion, please?
Councilman Aversa,
Yes.
Councilwoman Park,
Excuse?
Councilwoman O,
Yes.
Council President McMorro.
I can vote on this, Anne Marie?
Yes, your name consent.
Yes.
Yes, Council-
Yes, I'm sorry.
Councilman
Just for the
Park.
record, we just lost Councilwoman Ellen
Councilman
Park.
Park.
Yes.
And Councilman Wu. Motion passes.
All right, well, Mayor, with your permission.
What did you vote on, Mr. Market?
I put in some legal work that you're looking for.
That'd be great. Thank you so much. All right, let's start our 2018 budget workshop, part 4. Paul and Chris, thank you for being here with us. Appreciate it. I'm sorry it's taken us so long to get to you. We'll make it up someday. All right, Councilwoman Park, can you just go outside and have your telephone call, please?
Thank you, Ed.
Yes, we can start.
So I just want to report back to some of the questions that you had specifically for bond counsel. We discussed briefly the police pursuit vehicle and whether or not it qualifies for bonding. As you know, the SUVs have become more and more popular, and the specific Ford model, there was some question of whether or not, I mean, some of them handle just like cars, and there's a very fine line now between SUVs and cars, but bond counsel reports back that currently the Ford Explorer pursuit vehicle is still eligible for bonding. So we do have that in the budget, and if the governing body so desires, they could remove that from the current appropriation, and that could become part of a capital ordinance, and that's up to you. The other issue had to do with tax appeals, based upon...
How much is that, 90?
No, he raised it to 100. He raised it to, the chief raised it to 100.
Is that for
After we asked
one?
him to cut the budget.
Oh, for two.
So, this is Chris, we're taking how much out of 100?
If you go to the,
If we do, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to keep it on track.
What's in the original budget?
that's the amount, the one that you had last week was 90, but you raised that to 100, but you reduced a bunch of other things. So if you have to go to page 3, is where the police OE starts. So you'll see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines that he changed. I gave you an Excel document rather than the Munidex document so that you can see what the difference is between last meeting and this meeting. So for all the departments that did respond back with changes, you can see the changes. So in that particular line item, the police vehicles went from 90 to 100.
Can I just put on the record that Councilwoman Parker came back at 2:30 into the meeting?
It would be the net, the net change on the
I mean, the full amount for police vehicles, I don't know if that includes some repairs or maintenance, or if it's just strictly for the purchase.
No, that was just a purchase.
Strictly for the purchase?
I would delete the 100,000 from here, and then we can figure out what we're gonna do, if anything. She had to go to work.
Oh, she left?
She had to go to work. Put in there, we're doing budget workshop. Let me just finish what I was saying, please. I suggest we delete the 100,000 from this budget, and then we consider if we're going to put it into the capital budget.
I agree.
And thank you for checking that.
No problem. The next item I was asked to look into was the tax appeals. And, again, we've had a workshop on tax appeals with the bond council present, finance committee, and we wanted to show good faith to the division because we know, just as a little background, that we are going to have to go to the local finance board and do a bond issue for tax appeals. So the good faith number that was recommended at the time was 300. We asked Steve if 250 is still in the ballpark, and I believe that was the question I was asked, and he concurs that 250 would still be a fair, good faith effort, which would drop us down, if you so desire, 50,000. So that would be a $50,000 drop in tax appeals. That does not mean that we are reducing any tax appeals by 50,000. We're just reducing the amount that we'd be putting in the budget for tax appeals for 2018.
Okay. Thank you for checking that also. I suggest we do drop it by that 50,000. Anyone opposed to doing that?
I think that's wise. If we could get away with that fall, I think it's, I mean, I hate to do that, but I think under these circumstances, yeah. Because we did have that discussion, so we get it.
Right. I was asked at the last meeting, too, to maybe come up with an idea or two. Again, this is just an idea. I just prefer to throw it out and get your feedback. One of the new items of revenues that we discussed between Chris and I during the break there was police traffic revenues. Now, last year you received $90,000 approximately. You're on track to receive about $70,000 this year. It would be a new item of revenue. It was not anticipated last year. I do have to caution you, though, any amount that we put in that category, will that be that much less surplus that will generate for 18 for use in 19? So we're basically pulling it ahead a year, but it is a true revenue, excuse me.
Is 20 the difference, or the full 90?
No, it would be a full 70.
Full 70.
Full 70. So we go from 0 to 70.
Not 90?
No.
Okay.
Only because we're not on track to do 90. If we were, I would...
That won't hurt us next year, probably.
Oh, it will.
Definitely.
Oh, definitely. It would be just money we're pulling from next year into this year. It's really a real revenue. It's nothing, there's no accounting magic to it. It's just that it's a revenue that we know about. Historically, we have not budgeted that. Last year...
So it's not an anticipated, we have not been using it as an
That is
anticipated
correct.
revenue.
That is correct.
So we're not really, I understand Councilman's question, that it would hurt us, but I don't think in the sense that...
Well, I
Well, it
think,
doesn't hurt us in the way I think it might have been asking.
can I just add, to the scenario here is actually, in my first year as mayor, for whatever reason, ticket revenue was negligible, and then it went up, and now we're looking at hopefully maintaining it at least 70.
Why don't we hold that, like in our pocket for a little bit and see what else we would.
Fair enough. Yeah,
Is that typical for municipalities to bring forward?
let me give you a little background on the topic. I think that would be helpful, because I kind of just blurted it out without giving you background. I believe most of this has to do with the project.
It's a lot of road, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't know how consistent it's going to be. for how long.
Right. Where the municipality is allowed to invoice an outside vendor for use of police for protection of whatever project is being done, whether it's road work. Especially after the last storm, I noticed more and more telephone poles are being, either new ones are being put in, whatever. There's always a police presence. We're now allowed, the municipality is now allowed to bill the vendor for that. So in prior years, this always existed. It's not a new revenue item. The only thing that is new about it is that last year, it became a material number. It was over 90,000.
Yeah.
That 90,
I think in prior years, we had the ability, but it just wasn't being done right. And then last year, we started doing it.
okay,
I think that's what I understood.
okay.
Yeah.
So, again, we have, I think a fair number is 70,000, but you could go from 0 to 70. There is no definitive number that you have to pay. I wouldn't go over 70 based upon the 4 months collection.
In the past, the revenue was used to offset spending. So, you guys adopted an ordinance not that long ago, I think it was 2018-14 or something like that, where you made the fees, it was $100 per hour for the officer, $35 an hour for the vehicle, and then 7% administration fee on top of that. So we're talking about the vehicle portion and the 7%, and actually it's only 2% of the administration fee, because the other 5% you dedicated towards DARE. So you can't use that for this. So you have a portion of the administration fees, which is a relatively low number, but the $35 an hour for vehicle fees is the main number. Historically, that's been used to either repair vehicles or purchase vehicles in the past. So now you are not taking that into the budget, which, I don't know if that's why the number is $100,000 this year for the police budget or not, because they were used to having that money automatically go back into their budget every year. We now have that separated, so you can either anticipate it as a revenue, or you can let it go into Myrna, which will replenish the surplus.
The other item, again, that's available, these are not big numbers. I apologize. I can't make up the numbers. I can only tell you what I can come up with. There is there's a range for the reserve for uncollected taxes. Chris and I are both in agreement that the number that we presented during our 4th or 5th version of the budget to the administrator had a good firm number of 700,000 for the reserve for uncollected taxes. When you do the actual calculation to the dollar, you can go down another $25,000 to $75,000. Again, we don't advise, but it's not our decision to make. That's available to the governing body. So that's a reduction in the reserve for uncollected taxes. Again, with the same caveats of what we just said
Is there a
before.
comfort number in there?
Well, there's a statutory number that you must put in there, which is 625,000 and change.
That's not answering my question. I know what the statutory.
That's the 75.
I don't, I'm sorry, let me just get the exact statutory amount is 624,967, that's the minimum. So, the budget amount was more than that, yes.
So 75 and change.
And the reason why...
So what's the comfort level?
Well, the reason why it was 75 on top of that was because last year we had tax appeals where we issued multi-year credits, and the multi-year credit for 2018 came to roughly $75,000. So I increased the reserve fund collected taxes because we are going to be giving them credit. We're not going to be receiving those taxes this year. So that was why that was done with that amount. Not statutory required to do it that way, but you're not going to get that revenue. So arguably, you'll be short on your tax collections this year.
So then there is no wiggle room.
Not really. In my opinion,
Well,
no, but statutorily, yes.
Well, okay, well, but if we issue credits and then there's not going to be money,
You'll have a short.
Okay,
It'll
so then there is no wiggle
impact
room.
your operations, right?
Okay.
I didn't say I had great answers, I just tried to
Yeah, that's
present
okay.
something.
Well, I'm just,
Yeah.
that's all right.
And again, you know, I want you to understand that there's some availability there. The only other thing Chris and I discussed was the canceled improvement authorizations, which we can do anytime during 18, which will help us for 19.
Yeah.
Because there's no availability this year.
Remember the cancel ordinances you were going to forward me?
I have the active ones. So I'll just make copies of them for anybody that wants to look
Yeah.
at the active ordinances.
Can I?
Just put on the record that Councilwoman Gloria stepped out of the room at 3:40.
Thank you.
Do you have a copy for me?
I've got one. There's a copy machine here. I'll make a bunch of copies. I just figured I'd use it to answer questions.
Okay, no, I had asked you to email that to me last week.
Okay, I will scan an email to you.
That's all I have right now, Mayor.
Thanks so much, Paul. Appreciate that.
Do we have a number of savings? Well, I think...
I was calling into PSE&G because I didn't understand why we budgeted 145.5 for lighting, 146.5, and we only spent 132. So the guy from PSE&G is going to, let me know if we can leave it at 132. Like, why was, what was the difference?
What, right.
He's gonna find out.
Okay.
But it's something, it's 15.
Yeah, everything.
And, you know, Mario, we spoke about that, the lighting change, but that's not really gonna help us this year.
Right.
Councilwoman Gloria O. re-entered at 3:42.
Can someone explain this paper, please?
Sure. This is prepared by Chris. He handed that out, and I'll let him speak to it more. But my understanding, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, is that after the last workshop we had, we went back to I went back to all our department heads and asked for adjustments to their budgets between 5 and 10%. Some did so, some didn't. And so you're comparing the before and after. Right? And then that's that. The third column there is the actual reduction in terms of the budgets that the department heads turned in. Does not account for the things that we may agree on or discuss today. It doesn't account for the things that Paul just went over, other than the 100,000 that we just discussed in terms of the vehicle.
Yeah, and this also does include the police overtime. So in addition to, because we discussed last meeting, potentially cutting that by 100,000. So, yeah, this doesn't include anything we talked about tonight today. Doesn't include the truck, and it doesn't include,
So there's an additional, in addition to the suggestion thing, there's already a decrease of 150,000 from last meeting, right?
Yeah,
So 150 on top, and on top of that, we now have 100 in police vehicle, 50 in tax appeal.
Right, so you have, of the 155, 55 of that came from the department heads, the 100 is the police overtime, and then the other 150 was the vehicles and the tax appeals. So remember, for every $50,000 that you reduce it, it's roughly $19, $20.
Yeah.
So we're at about $60 reduction based on this page.
Right.
Another 60 from today, potentially, and that's just, everything that we're talking about here is, included in the introduced version.
We have 24 active officers, and we have a new hire and dispatcher line for 55,374. I'd suggest to everybody that we freeze on the hiring.
Okay. So in that case, that number would come out and it would be a savings. Right. I would support that.
New hire. slash dispatcher. 55,874 was budgeted in there. We have 24 people on staff.
Is the suggestion to lower that appropriation by 55,700?
Yes, just to eliminate it.
That's the suggestion.
5,574.
How is that going to impact the overtime?
Well, that was the, if your overtime went over, then that would be the money that would be used to accommodate for that without having to do budget transfers, because it's in the same budget. If you go over in the overtime, then we will have to find it from somewhere else now.
Well,
Up to the 50,000.
I think the more constructive and positive way of looking at it is to just say, don't go over your budget in the overtime. And we've been tracking that very carefully. What may end up being a very unpopular item at this table is that I would propose we eliminate the second, third, and fourth quarter mayor and council salaries. In return, we'll do a community farm. Start growing our own vegetables. And that's only because, you know, if I'm asking others to cut their budgets, I'm also going to cut mine whopping $3,000.
Not much, but it helps.
It helps. Well, it's 18,000 minus, I guess we got paid already the first
We
quarter.
already got paid for one quarter.
So, minus that, so whatever that is.
I believe, Chris, in my limited discussion with Catherine, I still was trying to figure out how to read this. I was told that she put in here for an additional hire in the tax department and also part-time additional hire in the tax department, and that she also put in for 2% raises for the individuals that are stipend positions. I would make the recommendation, not the salaried employees.
I think the 2%, I think it affected some people, it didn't affect all.
I can only tell you what she told me, and you can let us know if it's in there or not. I was trying to figure it out.
Okay.
That,
I would love to see a part-time helper.
well, I'm just saying, we can't afford it if this is the situation we're in.
It's not currently in the budget. Part-time in tax collection is not currently in the budget. The only extra help in the tax collection budget is the overtime that you're paying because they are...
Again, I can only tell you what she told me, and she definitively told me that she had put that into this budget, so I couldn't find it.
It's not in there. I would love to see it in there, though.
Okay.
The opportunity presents itself.
Okay. Yeah, I was having a hard time.
Yeah, what I'd like to do is ask around the table if anyone else has any cuts or other reductions or adjustments, and then at the end of this meeting, Chris, what I would anticipate is that you go back and do the full budget worksheet that shows us where these adjustments will be reflected in that the last number that we had from the prior workshop, the last page, bottom right number, which was the per household increase that you had. And I can see the effect of this along with the revenue implications and everything.
I could tell you ballpark what that would be, if that's helpful. If not, we can wait. Would you?
It's helpful.
Yeah? Okay. So, just doing some quick math here. And, that number, based on the average home, based upon the limited conversations we have, I've got a couple of questions about the new hire, whether it's in or out for sure, but,
And taking the full capital surplus that we're, the full surplus that we're allowed.
oh, we're gonna do that too? Okay, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Just where we were now, we're down to about 350 from the 504. That's been lowered to about 350 just on this minimal, the minimal changes.
That's municipal, right?
On the municipal level, yes. Now, the new hire, just so I'm clear, the 55,008, the exact number? Are we all in agreement that that is for the sake of this worksheet?
I'm going to recuse on discussion on
Okay.
that matter.
But I just need to know if you want me to include it or not. Okay, good.
New hire for,
Include it by taking it out.
Right. Include it in the reduction.
Include it
In the
out.
reductions, correct, yes.
On recuse.
And what are we allowed to go in the capital surplus?
1,840.
No, he said capital surplus.
Wait, I thought you said
The next.
regular surplus or capital surplus?
Correct, I misspoke, the regular surplus.
Regular cash surplus, okay.
1,840.
And again, what happens is these are overtime, goes over, and then you don't have like...
There's no reason for that budget to be over 100, you're in the 100.
Oh, well, that's 540.
Yeah, that's a big number.
That's going to change dramatically. We go to the max surplus.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
County council was 150.
$150. We're almost there. I think there's a couple more things that we can do, but I'm going to not talk about those today. So we're taking the maximum amount of surplus that we're allowed to statutorily, we're at about $150 increase. But I think we'll have to look at the actual printout, and I think there's a couple more things we can do. And I think also because of the nature of the litigation and everything else, and I see Dave had a battle sitting back there. We need to pay those legal bills too.
We're gonna have to, yeah.
Yeah, so, we may have to change that number.
Yeah. Chris, I have a quick question for you. How much of an impact would it be if we utilize, like, all the lines that we have in some of these ordinances?
Most of them aren't funded, and you can't utilize them this year anyway.
It would be to next year.
Well, no, what I'm talking about for the roads specifically.
Oh, we don't,
That's funded.
it's not funded by the division's terminology of what funded is and isn't. You wouldn't be able to cancel it and utilize it as surplus.
No,
But if you
I-
use it to spend on roads,
Yeah, exactly.
well, we don't have any money in our current budget for roads.
It's just capital.
Various acquisitions and improvements. That ordinance that's available is 2015-13.
Hold on.
We have 197,000 in there, funded.
Okay. Wait.
We talked about that.
No, but that's,
Right.
you can't touch that. We need that.
could we just stop the road project at the $212,000 that we had, and like just pay whatever up to $212,000 and stop there? Or is that not possible or feasible? As a, look, Chris is looking at me like I'm nuts. You know what I, because wasn't that, I don't know why that number's in my head, but
I don't know.
would that give us like half a road, three-quarters of a road?
Half a road, you don't have.
99% of it?
The road was a long road. Half a road.
Just get to your neighbor,
That's it,
not
just
your
it.
house.
Yeah, it's that half road you gotta
All right,
have.
wasn't one of the roads, Chris, a long?
Lynn Drive is a long road.
But the thing is that...
If we get a grant for it, you can use that grant money up to the penny and stop completely, and as long as it's for the roads that you're approved specifically for on that grant. To answer your question, yes, you can do that.
So, for example, now the other's being facetious, but so there's, and I don't recall, but let's say there's 4 roads.
Mhm.
And the 4 roads cost us $300,000, but 3 roads cost us $220,000. Can we use all the money that's in that grant, I believe it was 212, I keep using that number for some reason, it's in my head. Can we use all that money to do the 3 roads and then just not do the 4th one?
Sure. Sure, and you just have to, you run
I
it
wasn't
through
sure if the grant requires you to do whatever roads you submitted.
No.
It's that's the most that you can do. They won't reimburse you for anything on top of that.
Right, you don't have to.
And as long as it was in the original award letter, so I don't know if it, sometimes with long roads, it's, part 1 that they'll give you for the grant for in year 1, and then year 2, maybe they'll give you part 2. So as long as it's specific to the grant award letter, which the engineer will have all the information on.
Paul, there's no other ordinance that's funded on here except for that one? that you-
There's 3.
Can I have the other one?
Sure. It's, they're actually in my... The one that might be stale is 2013-9, road and parking lot and improvements to firehouse. There's $6,800 in there
Okay.
from 13. There's another one for tax appeals, which obviously we wouldn't want to cancel.
No.
If we have one for tax
Which one,
appeals.
what's that number, just writing it down?
2013-15.
Right.
And
That's 31.
then the one that we just discussed is 2015-13. But don't forget, my numbers are as of December 31st. Chris has the current numbers
Yeah, I
as of
want-
April.
Remember, Chris, you said there was one that had the roads in it. There was an amount that we could have used.
Yeah, but there's open road ordinances, but they're not
They're not
funded.
Okay, they're not funded.
So, I mean, you can, there are authorizations to spend. We do have the cash from note sales, but they are not permanently funded. There's no long-term debt on
But you
them.
could definitely spend against them, for sure.
Oh, we can't,
You
without...
can't cancel them, but you can
No,
spend
I don't
against
like, I'm
them.
not asking for canceling them, but we're spending it with no effect to the budget.
Everything that's on that list that you have in front of you, we
You
can
can
spend,
spend.
but
Okay.
it's not going to reduce the budget amount unless you're just talking about the 5% down payment.
That's all I was talking about.
And all I was talking, I'm sorry, Carol, that was
Yeah,
my
that's all
fault.
I was
I should have
trying to get.
prefaced, yeah. All I was talking about is things that potentially we could cancel,
Oh, yeah.
and then utilize that money in next year's budget, that's all.
No.
Or for a new ordinance,
Yeah, that
that's
wasn't...
all. Meaning they were kind of stale, 13, 15, but the tax appeal one I would not touch, unless it's going to go into a new tax appeal ordinance.
Chris, I had a question on police salary and wages. We still have an individual listed there with no dollar amounts named D. Morrissey.
It's
Right.
just an export from the system, so the account was probably just set up a long time ago, and it just carries over every year. I can delete it, there's no...
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure that we're not...
Yeah, it's got no dollar amount in there, it's just not used. And every once in a while, like if you were to if you were to get a new hire, I would just reuse that account number and put the new name in there. So that's what happened with all the other
All right.
retirees.
Last we discussed about any potential income from the any locating department or regarding about any project. You take it off and
We can ask Kathy, if she, I don't know what we have on her head, not to put you on the
Big
spot.
projects coming? No more. Human wages all paid.
what about the LG?
I'm sorry, LG is all paid too. All their permits are paid.
Do you know what permits that is just the foundation?
No, they got full permits.
For,
For everything. The building, the park, I'm pretty sure the parking deck. I'm not 100% sure the parking deck, but I know that they got all the building, everything for the building. Definitely, it's all paid for.
Okay.
I mean, there might be updates along the line, but updates are usually not large amounts of money.
Okay.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I have to excuse myself.
All right. Take care. Every time I see you, I get a toothache.
You got it?
Yeah. Thank you. It was productive.
Thank you, Dan.
Take care.
Mayor, one more line, based on our interview with James Barrio, is the New Jersey Health Plan for employees. We're paying $72,000 budgeted there. He suggested we have a look at our insurance and see if our health plan, and see if there was anything we could do to switch to a different plan.
Given the state health benefits.
That is line 2200, last four digits. Insurance, group insurance. It's a very big line item for us.
That has nothing to do with this budget. This has nothing to do with this budget.
It will be changed about the health
We're looking to
insurance.
introduce the first week of May. That's not something. They're negotiating items of contracts.
All right, we'll look into it.
For next year.
Thank you.
Over 100,000 over time.
I'll be first assignment.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Well, the key
Let me
thing is
just see
to provide us with good benefits and more maybe.
Right. He instituted wellness programs where all these
Yeah, that
people
was
came
nice.
in and all the staff members listened in on the wellness program, and that enabled them to reduce some premiums there. But they had to sit in for an hour or 2 hours every month, just listening on how to take care of yourself better. But-
Can you just explain for my own information, under the police SMW, you have school guards 50,000. So that's an item that the municipality pays for the school.
Cost of effective.
Cost of it. And that's separate from the school security.
School security would be outside duty, or are you talking about,
No, the schools have, they're guarded.
by an officer?
No, by a retired person.
But that would be in their budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would,
And this is school crossing guards. Can you just add the word crossing in there?
Sure.
Thank you.
Chris, quick question, how much do we have in our capital from last year? Capital fund?
You have my capital report.
The whole,
That's the capital budget, that's everything we have. For
Oh,
caps,
just
for
what-
authorizations, that's for every ordinance that we have that exists right now.
this is before, I meant like out of the 100 we put in when we had.
Oh, the capital improvement fund?
Yeah, that's what I said,
No, I
yeah.
think so.
Don't have the financial statements?
Yeah.
I pull it up real quick here.
Yeah, if you could scan that to me, your convenience, Chris, I guess we time.
Did you use any of it? No. Okay, I got it done. The state's new, manifest.
Yeah, it's 60,000. 60,338.60.
What about surplus?
Oh, yeah, we didn't mention that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so the capital improvement fund that Chris just said was $60,338.60, that's for down payments. And then this capital surplus, we're using 200 of 216. In the revenue, out of the capital surplus balance of 216,000, we're using 200,000 of it. This- As a revenue.
Offset the budget.
Okay.
Out of the capital improvement fund, the 60,338.60 is for down payments.
So that's what we have in our capital improvement fund right now.
60,338.
So, and we're looking to put another 100 in there.
That's my understanding.
Okay, so there might be some wiggle room there, depending on
Depends
what
how
our
much,
project.
exactly.
I just want to bring that to the council's attention, okay? That's an area that is not, in here, it's gonna be on that other sheet that you have, that you got 2 meetings ago, which shows all expenditures for capital. So, no, the one that folds out, I'm looking for.
So 50,000 gets you $1 million. So we effectively have a little over 3 million.
No, the one that was, I don't know, you were sitting next to me last time and I showed it to you. You were sitting right here. I don't know where it's at.
I can do this real quick.
Do you have yours, Bill? The sheet, the capital sheet. Is there, can you scroll that out? Here it is, sorry, I found it, guys, this one. See this? You need to look at this and figure out what for this.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
So I got
So this, we got some wiggle room in there, so we need to
plus
study that.
traffic revenue.
And, that's why I said.
540 surplus.
from what they put in. And, according to what Paul was saying, we need to introduce May 9th. And I don't know, counting backwards from those deadlines, what we have to be done by. So we may need to have another special meeting before May 9th, given whatever updated papers he's gonna give us. We're gonna have another special meeting, because, and I recommend this is one of the areas. Because I think if there's some leftover money in the ordinance and all that stuff.
I just have one more question. Sure. The vehicle repair and service for the fire department.
Which last four digits?
265, 2201. 5201.
Yeah.
I had thought that number would have come down a lot more because there were new fires, engine fires, so that the service and repair, that one's under warranty.
Yeah, I remember that when Chief Ramon was here, he said that he named the three other ones and how much time they've been around, the ages of them.
It's only come down by 2,000 from last year, and last year we didn't have it that.
I'm happy to check with him. See if we can redo that number. Look at, just sharpen the pencil a little bit. Yeah.
What I would like to do is see where we are with the sheet.
We do have $5,000 in overtime under administration and executive, 1001, the very first line item. Traditionally, we've never had that line item in there before. $1,001,009.
Yeah, it was something that Catherine had asked, because they were gonna, if they needed extra help in the administration office. I just put the numbers in.
Yeah. I suggest we...
But keep in mind, the salary is higher for the new administrator, so that's gonna make up something for some of it.
We also have lost time between administrators, right?
I don't know if we have payment for accrued time that is due. I haven't gotten any of the final figures yet. So until I get final
Go over
numbers,
some of those things, yeah.
yeah, until I get final numbers, I don't know if this needs to go up or down, depending on that.
Well, we know that the borough administrator one is
It's only,
$1,160 difference.
it's only a $1,100 difference there.
Yeah.
Regardless, plus if there's accrued time due, that's on top of it. I don't know if there's any, I don't know if you could, she has anything for vacation time or anything like that, so I actually can get
Yeah,
final
all the
numbers.
stuff, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll just note that we should probably be pretty comfortable removing that 5 after checking on it. I think it should be 5, Chris.
Okay. What was that?
5,000 in admin salary wages.
5,000. And in the calculations, you want to see it with the full 540 in surplus, the additional 540? 540,000 surplus. Just like, I'd like to recap, just to...
What do you say?
Yeah, Paul's going to...
I was just going to recap everything we're talking about, one at a time. I just want to make sure that we're all on board, because I don't get to vote, so... I'm adding 70,000 in police traffic and revenues. I'm adding 540,000 to surplus. I'm reducing appropriations by 5,000 admin salaries and wage. Overtime, 100,000. The police pursuit, we're moving to capital, that's 100,000. Tax appeals, 50. The new hire, 55,000, what?
879.
74.
874.
874.
874. Mayor and council salaries and wages, 13,500. And I was not sure what the agreement was or the consensus was on the percentage increases for the non-contractual. Just
What do you have in there now?
It's built into every individual one, so I don't have a total dollar amount.
So if it's not contractual, I recommend
There's-
it not be.
There's very few non-contractual.
I don't know what non-contractual definition is.
But we're not part of the collective bargaining agreement.
I think
But
there's
everybody wants.
5 people now or something like that that aren't confidential employees.
Can you send that to us in an email?
Send you what?
I don't know who we're talking about or what. I don't want to start discussing employees in public, so.
Who is considered non-contractual?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I don't know what we're talking about.
I'm going to leave that out for now, and then you can...
Paul, the $540,000, I'd like scenarios, because without using any of the 540, which is what we have left over.
The total surplus available for use is $1,840,000. The last version, version 5, I call it, of the budget, we were using $1,300,000. So the difference between $1,300,000 and $1,840,000 was $540,000. Obviously, anything between 0 and 540 would be the scenarios. 0 meaning $1,300,000,
Right.
and the high end meaning $1,840,000, but there's potential scenarios of
Right.
multiple.
And you do it with leaving it at the $1,300,000 with all these,
Other than that,
right? And then
270.
100,000. Only, yeah, I would like to see minimal increments and see if we can't, yeah.
well, 100,000 is $19, yes. For every 100,000, it's 19, so, I mean, 30
I think
cents.
the council
Yeah.
has to see the $100,000 increments
Mhm.
and what that means and still look to figure out through this budget process how to do that without touching surplus, if possible.
Well, the 70,000 is also going to, it's affecting surplus. 70,000 that you would have otherwise accounted surplus this year is not going to be used to anticipate, that was the outside duty. So that's also.
I didn't hear that on the list.
Yeah, that was the $70,000 increase in revenue, anticipated revenue. That's the
No, I know
outside
that, but I didn't hear that in the mayor's list before, or Williams' list.
On the list.
That just came up today.
Yeah.
No, I know that, I'm talking about now in the recap.
Yeah,
Is that for sure?
that was the first thing he said.
Just to give you an idea, the 540 surplus increase represents $205 in savings total, just that one number. So if we take that out, that's, if we leave surplus alone and everything else with all the other changes, you'd still have $205 from the local level increase without that increase in surplus. On the average house.
I'm not comfortable using my surplus. But that's just my
Right.
I agree with that.
Let's just see what it looks like. Different scenarios.
Okay, so when is our next, to check the calendars for the books?
Right, of course.
Friday night.
5 for me.
Okay.
With the full
What time?
540.
6:30?
That's what the full 5.
Thanks, okay. Hold on. I'm gonna have to bring my kids here, but yeah.
Carol said yes.
I don't know. What day are we talking about?
This Friday night at 6:30, but doesn't work with this.
Is this time available any day, again? Is it? Yeah. Good for me. What's this work?
Good for me also.
The nights are the hard ones. Days are the easy ones.
How about Monday, again, 2 to 4? Yeah, the 7th.
I think, that's not leaving us much time for them to prepare for Wednesday.
Do you think we're going to need another time after that?
Say again? They want to introduce the budget.
On the 9th, I know, so we should bang it out on the next meeting, regardless of what.
We want, they have to get it prepared.
It's tight, but...
Time, yeah. Okay, what?
If changes are made.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, Thursday or Friday, is anybody available Thursday or Friday? Thursday is okay.
Thursday during the day or evening?
I'll do whatever, I'll work around you guys, whatever you say.
Oh, you saying Thursday the 3rd?
I can't do evening.
Okay?
Day is okay.
Okay, 2 to 4, 2 o'clock, Mark?
I can't do day.
You can't do
I
day?
can't do day on Thursday. I have a meeting, I'm trying,
What time?
3 o'clock.
What about morning?
Friday?
Friday morning,
Mark,
wide
Friday
open.
morning?
Friday morning I can't.
Okay, 10 o'clock, Ellen?
Yep, 10 o'clock is good.
10.
I can't do Friday morning.
Oh,
First Friday of every month I've got finance committee meetings.
Can anybody come in your place here? I'm just trying to make this work.
Who would you like to come?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
You know, I prefer to have Chris here.
No, I meant from his office. I meant from the
No, he's
meetings.
the one who reminded me of this.
Okay, well,
Should we try Monday again?
Sounds like,
Yeah,
Monday, 2 to 4.
can we do 1 to 3?
Let's do this. Let's do
I'm
Monday.
I'm a little nervous leaving it till Monday.
Monday to the 4th. If for some reason,
Oh, wait a minute. What's-
hold on a second. If for some reason we can't get it done on Wednesday, we'll have a special meeting later in that week.
Okay, can we do 1 to 4, 1 to 3 on Monday?
Yes.
All right, because I had an issue with the kids today.
Paul,
I have a lunch meeting in New York, so I'm not going to do 2 to 4, I can do 1 to 3.
Okay.
And I have to leave in the middle and go get them, because no one got them today. They were standing in the front for 20 minutes.
Paul, if we're tight to introduce on the 9th, then,
You can do a special meeting.
special meeting the week after, okay?
So Monday, 2 to 4?
They want the first, they wanted the first scheduled meeting, but if you have a special meeting for the budget, I don't think anyone's going to argue with that.
What? Well, they're the professionals, not me. I mean, you know, we're...
The suggestion is,
Limited time.
the suggestion is for the first scheduled meeting, but if there is a special meeting that you're having to introduce the budget, I don't think anyone's going to argue with that.
Okay, so as long as everybody here understands, we have to make ourselves available for a special meeting to introduce the budget. It cannot be introduced on the 9th.
They always want a budget, so that anything you need to do to get a budget introduced. I have 2 o'clock on the 7th, is that the consensus?
And Paul, if you can look at your schedule and please, anticipating that we may need a special meeting to hold certain dates open for us for the introduction of that budget case.
Well, it'll get done, we'll get it done,
Well,
yeah.
I will not be available week of the 13th, the week following back.
Okay.
I'll be traveling, I'll be overseas.
We've got plenty of time between the introduction and, I mean, if you're talking about a special meeting, right?
Right.
Okay.
Is that going to be problematic, Paul?
As long as the decisions are made on Monday, no.
Yeah, when we circulate the documents prior to Monday, that way if they have questions, we can try to get through it.
Yeah, the only thing is, I don't have all the individual line items that would need to be changed, I could do that.
I can just, I'll send you the same exact spreadsheet.
Condensed, perfect, okay.
It's okay, just letting you know.
I appreciate that, thank you.
See what it looks like, I appreciate, you guys doing
Okay, so when are we here? 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock.
Somebody should change. Kathy, if you could let the councilman Aversa and councilman know.
I'm gonna let Lizette know, and she can put them.
Okay.
She'll be back in the morning. Okay.
Minus discussion. Items on the-
Yeah, just the budget? Okay, yeah, I'll get...
Yeah, I'll wait to hear that, and then I'll try to flip it right back to you so you can check.
So Paul, you have that, last time you brought that sheet that showed that page 3 with the per home increase. So after that, the adjustments made, you'll have that sheet will be updated, right?
Right. I'm going to circulate it back to Chris. He's going to give me I don't have the individual changes from the departments, so he'll give me that. I'll circulate it back to Chris. Once we're in agreement, I'll get it to everybody ahead of time.
Okay.
All right, but with those figures that I asked, you prepared?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to thank everyone for their good work today. Chris, thank you for being here, and Paul, thank you also, and special thanks to Kathy for filling in for Lizette. Appreciate that. Have a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Thank you.
Jacket, together.
How is this gonna work? Call a number?
Okay.
So it's Monday,
No, I need to, we're leave.
Get your stuff ready.